Hey, true believers, Chris Mack coming at you with two action figures that I absolutely love. Today we're going over the Marvel Legends Age of Apocalypse X-Men Colossus Build-A-Figure Wave Sabretooth and the Caliban Build-A-Figure Wave X-Men's Blink. And I had to do both of these figures together because in Earth 295, Colossus Sabretooth takes Blink as his surrogate daughter. Same kind of with Wild Child. So I had to do both these figures together and they look beautiful side by side. If you guys want to pick these figures up, please, first and foremost, as I always say, first and foremost, support your local comic shop or wherever it is you like to get your figures and books and grab them. If not, at the time of this recording, surprisingly, they are available both on Big Bad Toy Store. So with that said, let's kind of do the tour of the box. We'll start with Creed here. And you can see the Colossus head ready to get built because this is the last one in the wave before we do Colossus. Love that they use the X-Men Age of Apocalypse logo there. Nothing on the bottom as per usual. Love that they use that Age of Apocalypse spot butters on the top, and then of course the Colossus BAF logo there. And I love that they're both the windowless packaging instead of that stupid plastic free thing, which I've gone on a tangent about, so we're just going to move right along. The artist rendition is not too bad. The face is a little off, but still love it. Loved also from the Sugarman wave, you know, they kind of kept that ominous apocalypse figure there in the back. Just adds and keeps that consistency. Come around to the side. The artist rendition here looks a lot better when you see it in its entirety. Just looks really cool, like you'd see it jump off a comic panel. Make sure to get a read up as well as the figures you need from the wave. Same artist rendition here on the side. That's Creed. Blink, she uses the more the New Age X-Men logo there. Caliban doohickey there. X-Men spot varnish there, which looks really fancy. Nothing on the bottom for the artist rendition. Love it. Just makes Blink look like a badass. Got the flames coming up this way. The color palette that they use just, I don't know, just really jumps out and makes it look awesome, especially when you look on the back and you just see her going at it. Her portal there and then her Blink spheres there. Just all about it. Love everything about it. Make sure to get the read up as well as the figures from the wave that you need to build Caliban. On the side, nothing there. And I got lucky with this Blink. Back in the day, God, that makes me feel old. Back in the day, they were phasing out the Caliban wave at Walmart. Went grocery shopping, and I just happened to find her for $7 at on the clearance rack. So I was like, yes! But enough gushing. Are these figures actually worth the damn or not? Let's crack them open, my friends, and let's get a closer look at both of them. Now here's Blink and Sabretooth out of the packaging, and you throw in Wild Child, and you get the whole Creed surrogate family together. And my God, do I love this Hasbro set. I really feel like they went out of their way to make some excellent pieces. There are some things about Blink that are going to kind of drive me up the wall and frost me. We'll get into that. But for the moment, seeing all three of these characters together like this makes you want to run to your long boxes and just dive back into the Age of Apocalypse. So let's get these figures off the stand and let's look further into the gorgeousness of all three of these. Quick backstory on both of these characters. The Earth 295 Victor Creed was one of the first mutants recruited by Apocalypse when he began his takeover of North America. As a member of the Horsemen of Apocalypse, they attacked Cape Citadel. Sabretooth was shocked when he discovered Apocalypse was going to launch the nuclear warheads. The Horsemen subdued Sabretooth when he tried to go rogue until the X-Men, on their very first mission, came to stop them. Out of desperation, the Horsemen released Sabretooth to fight Weapon X, and he was defeated. This led Apocalypse to abandon Sabretooth, and later he was placed in a prison cell with Wild Child for those who betrayed Apocalypse. With Wild Child now loyal to him, the two broke out of their cell and fought their way to freedom, eventually joining the X-Men. Now, Blink, we haven't really gone over her, so Clarice Ferguson, she was created by Scott Liddell and Joe Modernia, I believe is how you pronounce his name. Her first appearance was Uncanny X-Men 317 from October of 1994. In the 616 universe, she was one of the many mutants captured by the Phalanx to assimilate their powers. Blink in this universe was tense, panicky, and frightened of her powers because she couldn't control them. Blink used her abilities, though, to cut up Harvest, a phalanx entity guarding her and her peers, but was caught in her own teleportation field and died in the process. Her death allowed the remaining captives to be set free, and they would eventually go on to be the Junior X-Men team, Generation X. Now, on Earth 295, Clarice lived a relatively normal life until the rise of Apocalypse, when he led a culling that by a sinister that reached Florida, and her parents were slaughtered, and she was captured and placed into the slave pens. There, she found comfort with her only companion, the young Ileana Rasputin, and her and Ileana were regularly experimented on by the Sugar Man and the Dark Beast. Now, Clarice was rescued from the pens by Sabretooth and was welcomed into the X-Men. And what's cool is, if you want to know what happens to Blink after the Age of Apocalypse, she finds herself alone in a desert, and a mysterious being named the Time Broker explained that she became unhinged from time and was to join this reality displaced team to fix altered timelines so that they could return home. If they failed, however, their lives would end in tragedy. And if they were to die on missions, they would be replaced. Now, there's a caveat to what would happen to Blink, but I don't want to give it away. I want you guys to go check out the Age of Apocalypse and the Exiles run, because both absolutely excellent. Now with their backstories out of the way, let's jump into their, what are those things called that they come with? Accessories. Let's jump into the accessories. Now, Creed, to begin with, he has his big grumpy face, as you can see, which works because, you know, Sabretooth, just like Logan, has to have that I'm going to eat your face type look about him. So that looks good. Like that head sculpt. The skin tone looks good. Teeth look nasty. It'd be kind of cool if they gave him some fangs, but hey, I'll take what I can take. The hair looks, and that's because he comes with two head sculpts. He comes with the, oh shoot, I just dropped it. He comes with the Mr. Grumpy face, as we just saw, and then he comes with more of a resting head, which is kind of cool. You know, if he was hanging out with Clarice or the X-Men, at least we kind of get a more, and we kind of get a little toothy grin. It's adorable. But yeah, great head sculpts, great paint apps. The hair looks great. Eyes look good. And just like with the other one, as I just said, it comes with a plug in the back of the head. What does that mean? Well, in the Age of Apocalypse, Sabretooth has long hair, and he has it in a bandana. So, for whatever reason, Hasbro thought it would be a good idea to give him ponytail accessories, scrunchie included. So, you come back to the head, work it ever so gently, and it spins 360, so at least you can kind of get some clearance on the head. So I appreciate that we at least kind of get that option. So he gets one, he gets a bandana, he gets a ponytail, you get a ponytail, everybody gets a ponytail. So you plug that one in and boom, yummy. We are scrunchied and ready to go kick some Apocalypse ass. The other accessories that Creed comes with is the default hands. He's doing the Macarena. Hey, Macarena. All right. He comes with open hands, which look great. So if you have the Wild Child that has the chain, you can wrap him around there, run the chains through his hands, and that's good stuff. I'm glad that they thought of that when I'm sure they had the foresight, which is great. And then he comes with two fisticuffs hands. You know, oh, I just about dropped that one too. Man, I am on a roll today. But you know, I'm gonna box your ears in. It looks good. Love that metal plate on the hand. Brown looks good. You can tell they're supposed to be leather with all the nice indentions and creases where leather's supposed to be. Same with the hands here. Metal plate. Backs into here looks good. Great stuff there. And those are the only accessories he comes with. I wish there had been more, but for what you need for an Age of Apocalypse Sabretooth, it works. Now, Blink her accessories are interesting. I'm glad that they kind of got a little experimental with her now. That's not to say that I wish that there was more, but let's talk about it. She comes with her, I don't remember what these would be called, but she generates these portal crystals that she could throw, and they can be weapons, which can displace people or really mess up their guts. But I like them, they're jaggedy. I wish that they were translucent though, because her powers, they always felt like translucent to me, or they looked always hot because they always had smoke coming off of them in the Age of Apocalypse, but whatever. Fit relatively well in her hands, so you can have a lot of options on what you want to do with it, how you want to pose it. The other thing that she comes with, which I thought was really neat, is her purple donuts. It's her teleportation pad that, you know, her blink portal, so when she throws one of these, it creates one of these, and then wherever she's thinking about or whatever, she can jump through and teleport. So if you're going to do a diorama, you're going to have a lot of cool options with this. Again, I wish it wasn't a solid pink. I mean, it looks good, don't get me wrong, but it would have been nice if they would have made this translucent. So if you're going to do a display, you can put a light under it. Now, if you have a strong enough light, it will illuminate. But if you're not, then it's going to be a little thick. So it would have been neat to at least make that a little more translucent so you could put a light under it and make it flash a little bit more. Same like I just said with her blink abilities. Now that's all the accessories both of these characters come with, which for what we need to express what these characters can do, you know, what else do you really need, to be honest? So, blink. I wish, one thing about Hasbro, like McFarlane's really kicking ass in terms of like how characters look, their clothes, you know, they have that vinyl feel to them, so it feels realistic, kind of like how this part of her skirt feels right, you know, it's supposed to flow and move around freely, but how they, you know, they're just taking her uniform and it just looks painted on. It would have been nice to make it look, kind of give like a vinyl thing, because I mean, look at, even her choker moves around and feels more natural. So it's kind of like, so yeah, I wish that they, and same thing with her wrist, cloth wrist thingamajiggers. It just would have been nice to just make it look more realistic instead of just like, oh, we're gonna slap paint on her and just call it a day. I mean, they at least gave her attention to details and kind of gave her, I call them gnome boots, kind of like Robin, but they look good the way that they fold down the way they're supposed to. And then the markings on her face, I'm glad that they at least paid attention to that, because other than her purple skin, the markings on her face were always interesting. And I don't think anybody's ever talked about the significance of those. So if you guys know the significance of Blink's markings, let me know. That would just be a really nice thing to learn. Now the yellow eyes look great. The hair looks good. I wish that they would have given Clarice two heads, because this looks more like her 616. Well, sort of. She had really short hair in the Phalanx, what was that event called? The Phalanx Covenant or whatever it was. But anyway, but in the Age of Apocalypse, I remember her hair being really long and going down her back. And same in Exiles. So this shorter hair, I don't know where it came from. But the musculature looks good. You can kind of see where her back muscles are supposed to be in terms of the anatomy. The legs look good. Now this is an older figure, so I have to forgive the pins. Now if this was a newer figure, I'd probably be losing my shit. But because it's older, I can forgive that. But as you can see, overall, Blink looks good. Belle looks good with all the studs, very Age of Apocalypse looking. So I'm thinking whoever molded her tried to give you a variation of a 616 and a 295 version, because she has elements of her regular universe and the Age of Apocalypse look. So that's what I really appreciate about this figure, and I don't really think it would be neat to have a re-release with more accessories and whatnot, but at least for now we have a Blink that looks great. Now Sabretooth, I just like that big snarling face. And what I do appreciate too is if you look at the eyes, how it's just the, oh god, I'm totally blanking on anatomy. The white spot, not the pupils, the cornea? I don't know. Just the white spot there looks good with the snarl, so you can kind of get that more intense look. As where if we get more the resting beast face, haha, you can actually see his pupils. So it is just a very nice juxtaposition between the two. So you get these two very extreme differences, which is exactly what we always want. And I was talking about this with the Superman review, where we got the heat vision and kind of the serious look, and it would have been nice to get kind of like a hopeful smile Superman head as well. That would have been cool. So at least we get these two variations with Sabretooth. That's awesome. And then in the Age of Apocalypse, what made me laugh the most is the fact that everybody had all these studded like leather bracer thingies on. Magneto had them, Rogue had them, not Blink, well, she kind of has the studded belt and the choker, but then Morph had something similar to this. It's just freaking random. So whatever. And the arm hair, it doesn't look as weird as the Madripoor Wolverine that we went over, so I'm kind of glad that they at least made this look bumpy. Paint apps here look good. Love that kind of gunmetal gray silver. Just very epic look to it. And again, even though I was talking about how I thought it was funny that everyone in Age of Apocalypse had these type of things, looks good, and you can't have an AOA figure without that type of stuff going on. The boots have that nice cracked leather, just like the gloves. Ripple where they're supposed to be. Browns look good against the hair and the, what do you call it, the skin tone. So very much just, nothing feels like it gets out of place. It just looks good. It looks like how Creed's supposed to. Now, in terms of the articulation, now again, warm your figures up. Now, there's a caveat to that, however. When you warm your figures up, don't leave them in the hot water or blow dry them for too long. I have a cautionary tale to talk about that in one of these upcoming reviews. So keep that in mind. Don't do it for too long. But when I first took him out of the packaging, I could not get him to touch his chest like that because paint had dried in the neck joint. So yeah. Now, what I do appreciate about this hairpiece is you can flip it up and get him to look up relatively good. So I'm thankful that Hasbro thought about that, because a lot of these figures with the long hair, you can barely get that and they're just stuck in one pose, which is very frustrating. Head that way, and you get a little bit of play on both heads. Arms 360, that way, that way, that way. Now, one thing I wish that they would do with Sabretooth, just like they do with Wolverine and Spider-Man and Deadpool's, I wish that an industry standard would start becoming the butterfly joint. Because think about that, if you could move his arm in further or backwards, just think of the range of just that savageness, like the Wild Child figure. That would be absolutely awesome. Arm spins 360, hand go down, hand go up. For a beefier guy, he can, crunch down relatively well. And back to legs, boop. Can kick out that much. Of course, the butt flap stops you, so you're hindered there. Almost a double jointed knee. Get a good range there. Upper thigh cup. Bicep swivel. Elbows go to about almost 90 degrees, so you got that nice range. No boot cut. No boot cut! Ah, frustrating. But at least you still get a good range, as I said. So, not too much to complain about on Sabretooth. Good stuff there. Now, Blink. Again, she's an older figure, so she's going to suffer from some of the older female body molds, which I wish they would reinvent. Because there's some that I've seen, they're still using this mold, and it's kind of like, can we please get over this? It's no one likes it, and it'd just be nice to see people get a little more creative. That's why I like these pinless figures that they're coming out with, because they just look so much better. Oh, one other thing that I wanted to point out is I'm glad that on the sculpt for Blink, but they at least gave her pointed ears and kind of made it come up through the hair. So I just really want to make sure that I pointed that out. I'm glad that that was something that they took into account. Now, with that said, head looks down really good. And again, as I just said, older figure, so you can't get the head back like you can Sabretooth. There's no way to move that hair, so she's kind of stuck in that regard. That way, that way. And you get a lot of good play in the head there. 360, that way, that way, that way. 90-degree elbow. Spins at the elbow, which I wish that they would give them a bicep swivel instead of this, because that just looks so odd. Hand, 360, up, down. Now she pivots here. That much, that much. And of course, spin. I hate that with the female figures, everything spins from the rib cage, as where like with Creed, or you know, and this is a lot of the bigger figures too, is he can go there, there, and then at that waist. So I just hate with this female body mold, we're just stuck to this area and nothing down here. That's just really frustrating. Legs can go out that much, legs out that much. Again, butt flap stops you, which is frustrating. Legs can go out that much. Thigh cut, and then I'm glad that you can get a little bit of extra movement there on the ball joint. Double jointed knees. Foot go up, foot go down, foot pivot, pivot. So the articulation between a newer figure and an older figure, you know, for what you get with both of them, I can't complain that they're actually pretty bendy, especially Blink for the limitations of the female body mold. And same, even though Sabretooth's a big bruiser character, you're at least getting an interesting range of motion. So your photos can actually be dynamic, or if you want to do a diorama, you're going to have a great time getting them set up on your shelf. Now, with Sabretooth recorded, we have gone over every single figure from the Colossus Build-A-Figure wave, which means that old Peter's going to be next. I forgot to throw Kitty in the mix, so she's the only one missing from this wave in this photo, but nonetheless, we still have some kick-ass characters here. We have the Legion, of course, Blink, Wild Child, the Iceman, what's his name? Cyclops, Rogue, the Magneto, and then of course the Deluxe, Age of Apocalypse, and then before they released this Sabretooth, I was using this Marvel Select one, and I've gone over all of these figures, so I'll try to leave a playlist along here so you guys can check it out at your convenience. But looking at these two Creeds now, I love what Toy Biz was trying to do with this one, but damn, does this one blow it out of the water. I mean, all the dark tones on this one look great, but this is more comic accurate and the one that I definitely prefer. I don't know, which Sabretooth do you guys like better? Do you love both of them? Are you going to get rid of one? Let us know. And also, let us know what you thought of all of this Age of Apocalypse wave, because both the Sugarman one and the Colossus are super duper special to me, because that was one of the first like events that I really dove into that got me hardcore into the X-Men. Anyway, with that said, we love to hear your thoughts, love to see your displays as well as your action photography photos. I have thoroughly enjoyed this Sabretooth. There's just a lot about him to like. I love that they gave him accessories, that he scales really great with Wild Child. Maybe my biggest complaint is the fact that he doesn't have butterfly joints like Logan does. I feel like that needs to start becoming an industry standard, because it just gives you that wider range in the shoulders that you need for a lot of action figure poses. It just helps immensely. Now the Blink, I've loved her since I've bought her. That's not to say that she does suffer from some of the old school female body mold pieces, but nonetheless, you warm her up and you work around that. As you can see, she's just as equally a badass figure. I kind of wish that they would have given us a swappable Age of Apocalypse hair, where it was, you know, she had the long hair in the comic. But nonetheless, being able to put father and surrogate daughter together, throw in Wild Child, and you have that whole Creed family, absolutely astonishing. I don't know what else to say. If you guys have enjoyed what you've seen, please first and foremost support your local comic shop or wherever it is you like to get your comics and figures, and pick these characters up, or you can pick them up where we talked about at the beginning of the review. Speaking of, if you did enjoy this review, we really would appreciate if you take a moment to hit like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club channel more than you could possibly know. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that fancy little apocalypse spell next to subscribe, that way we can continue to upload content, you guys get notified. Come to the channel, and we love talking with y'all and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments below, or our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, photo slideshow coming up next. Hope y'all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.